Hey everybody! So in this video we are going to be solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. So in one of my prior videos I proved how the quadratic formula comes about. So let's go ahead and write it here. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and this will all be over 2a. So in the prior video, we said that this was a result of completing the square on the standard form of a quadratic. So that means that technically, if I take the values from my expression and plug them into this equation, I should get my solutions. So I'm going to go ahead and label my a, b, and c, and I'm going to write the values for those variables. So a is going to be negative 1, b is going to be negative 10, and c is going to be negative 10 as well. So I will take these values and I'll plug them where they belong in the formula. So this is negative b, so I'll say negative parenthesis negative 10, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so this will be negative 10 quantity squared, minus 4 times a, which is negative 1, times c, which is negative 10. And I'll take all of this and put it over 2 times the value of a, which is negative 1. So we'll slide this equation over here, and now we're going to reduce what we currently have. So I'm going to say negative times negative 10 gives me positive 10, plus or minus the square root. And then we're going to simplify what's underneath our square root here. So we're going to say quantity negative 10 squared. So I'll type that on the right here. If you're interested in what this app is, it is called Desmos. It is free. It is by far the best online graphing calculator out right now. So let's continue. Minus 4 times a times c. So we'll plug in the negative 10 there, and we are getting 60. So this will be 10 plus or minus the square root of 60, and this will all be over 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2. Now, from here, you have two things that you can do depending on what the question says. If they want you to write it as a decimal, you'll do the following. So I can go ahead and split this up into two separate problems, and I'll say 10 plus the square root of 60, and I'll put this all over negative 2. Here we go. And then I'll say 10 minus the square root of 60, and I'll write this over negative 2. So I'm doing the two operations from the problem. When it says plus or minus, we're going to add on one problem, subtract on the other. So let's go ahead and see what we get. So on my calculator, I'll set up my fraction. I'll say 10 plus the square root of 60. I'll put that over negative 2. And this gives me, we're going to say negative 8.9. We're just going to round to the 10th for simplicity's sake here. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. So I'll set this up and I'll say 10 minus the square root of 60 all over negative 2. And this is going to give me negative 1.1. Okay, these are my solutions to this quadratic. Now, if they want it in decimals, we're going to do it like this. If they want it as the square root simplified, we're going to take the square root of 60 and we're going to find the largest perfect square that goes into 60. And that's going to be 4. So when you simplify it, you get 2 times the square root of 15. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring it over to the right so it's kind of out of our way here. And I'm going to take this in blue and I'm going to rewrite it. So this would be 10 plus or minus 2 square root 15, and I'll put this whole expression all over negative 2 now. So we don't want decimals, we just want this left as one expression simplified. So here you can only simplify these numbers if all three numbers can be reduced by the same number. So all three of these can be reduced by 2. So I'll say 10 divided by negative 2, that gives me negative 5, plus or minus 2 divided by negative 2 is just going to give me plus or minus 1. So this would be my solution if they did not want you to write it as a decimal and they said write it as a simplified radical. And we can type this in on our calculator to prove it. So I'm going to say negative 5 plus the square root of 15, and there's my negative 1.1. And then I'll say negative 5 minus the square root of 15, and that's going to give me my negative 8.9. So you see we get the exact same solution. One is decimal form and the other is a simplified square root. So on number 2, we're going to go through and do the exact same thing we did before. We're going to label our A, B, and C. A here would be 5, B here would be negative 4, and C is going to be negative 28. So again, we're going to write out our quadratic formula. We'll put this all over 2A. And then we're going to take our variables, A, B, and C, and substitute them into the formula like we just did on number 1. So it is negative B, so I'll say negative times negative 4, plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is negative 4 quantity squared. You have to make sure that's staying in parentheses. Here I'll say minus 4AC, so minus 4 times 5 times negative 28. And this will all be over 2A, or 2 times 5. So we're going to come over here and we're going to reduce what we have. So negative times negative 4 is going to be positive 4. We'll come over to the calculator and simplify what's under the radical. So we'll say quantity negative 4 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 28. And this gives us 576. So we'll say the square root of 576, and this will all be over 10. Now, because this number right here, it looks like a perfect square, we're going to test this. And indeed it is. 576, the square root of that is going to be 24. So you have to reduce. So this will be 4 plus or minus 24 all over 10. Here we have rational numbers. So we're going to split this apart and then figure out what our two solutions are going to be. So we'll say 4 plus 24 divided by 10. And then our other solution is going to be 4 minus 24 all over 10 as well. So I'm a big fan of the calculator. I like typing everything in just so I can make sure I'm right. Why not, especially if one is given to you? So 4 plus 24 over 10 is going to give us 2.8. That would be your decimal. If they want you to keep it as a fraction, this would be 28 over 10, which when you reduce each numerator and denominator by 2 leaves us with 14 over 5. So if they want it as a fraction, we have 14 over 5. 4 minus 24 is going to be negative 20 divided by 10, and that gives us negative 2. So these are our solutions, 14 fifths and negative 2. So here on number 3, this one's a little bit different. This quadratic equals a number. So when we use quadratic formula, we want the quadratic expression always to equal 0. So we're going to take this negative 9 and move it over to the left. And this gives us x squared plus 12x plus 27. Now what we'll do is we will go ahead and label our A, B, and C. And we will solve this equation. I'd like you to try pausing the video and you work this problem out and then hit play to see my solution. So one form of notation you may see here when you're working with quadratics is they will say x equals, and then they will put the two solutions inside of one of these curly braces. So nothing too different, it's just one way that they notate. That's going to be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Please make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back as soon as I can. All right, we'll see you all in the next video.